Tragedy at a South Florida high school. 17 dead, more than a dozen others injured. All of it happening Wednesday at Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland.
Amid the sorrow, stories of heroism touching many hearts. For the victims now identified, 2 teachers and 2 students. Now we want to go to Omar Jimenez for the very latest. He joins us live now from Parkland, Florida.
Another press conference is getting ready to get underway in just a few minutes here from the Broward County Sheriff's Office, updating on the latest in this investigation. 17 people killed at this high school here in Parkland, Florida. The suspect was in court today, charged with 17 counts of premeditated murder, and is being held without bond. And as this community tries to come to grips with what happened here a little over 24 hours ago, one mother says, "How can we go back to school after this?"
Are you Nicholas Jacob Cruz?
Yes, ma'am.
The suspected shooter, 19-year-old Nicholas Cruz, appearing in court this afternoon.
You're charged with some very serious crimes.
He's charged with 17 counts of premeditated murder in Wednesday's shooting rampage at a South Florida school. Today, there are new questions about what the FBI might have known about his troubled past and violence-related posts on social media. According to one law enforcement official, there were at least 2 threat reports that the FBI received about the alleged shooter.
The FBI received information about a comment made on a YouTube channel. The comment simply said, "I'm going to be a professional school shooter." The FBI conducted database reviews, checks, but was unable to further identify the person who actually made the comment.
Authorities continue to dig for answers.
We're not going to leave any stone unturned. We're trying to process this as quickly as we can.
But still, so many questions remain, both for investigators and for a grieving community.
I don't know how she's going to go to school every day, and she's going to have a different teacher. That's going to be a daily reminder.
The conversation turning to what to do next.
Now is the time for this country to have a real conversation on sensible gun control laws in this country.
President Trump offering condolences from the White House.
We are all joined together as one American family, and your suffering is our burden also.
And President Trump expected to make a visit down here to visit with families and local officials who continue to dig into what may have motivated the shooter to do what he did. But another thing that they are digging into, and as we are seeing basically come out from these stories, are stories of heroism. A football coach who jumped in front of bullets to protect his students, and a geography teacher as well who protected his classroom. And as one student puts it, she's 100% certain he saved her life. Reporting live from Parkland, Florida, I'm Omar Jimenez.
All right, Omar, thanks to you and, of course, all our colleagues who are helping us keep up to the minute with developments. Thank you so much. Well, this morning, Governor Rick Scott speaking on that shooting, saying that next week the Florida legislature is going to have a real conversation about how to make sure this never happens again. He says lawmakers will look at 2 things.
How do we make sure when a parent is ready to send their child to school that in Florida that parent knows that child is going to be safe? Number 2, how do we make sure that individuals with mental illness do not touch a gun?
Governor Scott also mentioning the many heroes during yesterday's tragedy.
Attorney General Pam Bondi also speaking out at that press conference, praising the collaboration of everyone who responded and helped out.
And this is what you don't see around the country. You see teamwork. That's what happens in Florida.
AG Bondi also saying the state will assist in paying for the victims' funerals. Meanwhile, the Broward County community gathering together, hosting a vigil this morning at a church in Coral Springs. The vigil taking place just a mile away from the high school.
Today, those in Parkland and the surrounding area in mourning, grieving the loss of 17 young members of their community. Alicia Turner is in Parkland for us right now. Alicia, what's the mood there?
Julie, Abby, I talked to one woman not long ago, and she said it perfectly. She said the air is just different here. She tells me whether or not people were directly or indirectly impacted by this, a lot of them acting really different today, just completely shocked by what has happened, something that has truly rocked this community. And just behind me, there's still crime scene tape up, and I'm about 2 blocks away from the high school. Now, I can see it from where I am, but they have the entire area roped off. One woman I talked to says her daughter daughter was actually at school yesterday, but she left early because that's her normal routine. She says she's thankful she's okay, but it's just truly sad to think about what happened to all the others.
Douglas is recognized as a good school. It's in a good neighborhood. Things like that is never expected nowhere, and was definitely something that left everybody speechless.
Now, this area is right in the middle of a residential part of town, so a lot of people who live in the neighborhoods have been coming out and talking to me, and many of them echoing her sentiments that this is just something they don't expect in this community, saying it's truly hard to think about what has happened. A lot of them, because this is an area where people cut through to get through the other part of town, a lot of people driving through trying to see and just think about everything that's happened. Some memorials will be later this afternoon, so we'll continue to bring you coverage from here in Parkland. But Julie and Abby, one thing that is certain, this community is truly shaken by what has happened.
All right, thank you so much for your reports, Alicia. We'll hear from you later in our newscast. Well, schools around our area also regrouping after this shooting. Law enforcement and school officials meeting in Gaston County today, hoping to create a plan in case of a situation like this.
And if Lenitra, if you can hear us now, she's standing by at the Gaston County Sheriff's Office.
Oh, I don't think she can hear us right yet. We will get back to her in just a moment.
Well, as you can imagine, it shocks every school leader, every parent, and everyone looking today to make sure they're doing everything they can. Going over all the protocols, trying to learn some painful lessons here that may be able to help others in the future.
Well, and even TMH was talking about that yesterday, the fact of, if the unfortunate incident happens, they look at the situation and go back and review their plans.
Well, social media playing a huge part in Parkland. First, though, we do want to warn you, some of the videos you may find disturbing. Videos posted on Snapchat showing students inside classrooms as that incident developed. Students using different platforms to communicate with their friends and family.
Some sharing messages they were okay, others giving a play-by-play of what was going on.
Capital City correspondent Mariel Carbone joins us now to talk more about that. Mariel, what kind of impact are these social media apps having in crises like this one?
Julie, it's really changing the way that we view them. Our news cameras can show a lot of what's going on the outside, but these apps can take you inside. Those students showing firsthand accounts as all of this unfolded. Now, if you look here on Twitter, this tweet reading, "My school is being shot up and I am locked inside." A student posting this as he was sitting in the classroom, and that tweet really circulating around the web, sharing information. Now, also the app Snapchat featuring a curated story on its own news department on its Snap Map. So those stories pinning together videos of the event, showing the beginning, middle, and end, all really encompassing what was happening. Now, social media experts saying that applications like this, it really helps bring the news to its users as it's all unfolding.
So there is an immediate impact of the communication, more so than reporters going on site, which will happen later. So this immediacy is the main change, really.
Again, these apps, they can really go places that reporters can't go sometimes. Snapchat in particular really playing a big role because of its ability to show video. And some other ways people were using these, students tweeting to their parents, tweeting to their friends, letting them know, "I am okay." So it was a way for people at home, family members to really communicate with people that may have been inside that school. Now, coming up at the 6 o'clock hour, we'll talk to some of the users on social media to get how they felt about being able to see some of these videos, some of these images. So stay tuned for that. But for now, reporting live from the Governor's Club, Mariel Carbone, WCTV Eyewitness News.
I know we were watching some of those yesterday, and it's very difficult. It's very difficult to see
Throughout
them.
the afternoon, kind of giving everyone an inside look, very, very painful inside look at what happened in that school yesterday.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mariel.
Well, we want to head back out now to Gadsden County. That is where our Lenitra Bennett is. She's been talking to law enforcement and school officials throughout the day, seeing how this situation, are they tweaking their own plans at this point, Lenitra?
The coordinator for safety says Gaston County does have a crisis prevention plan and a crisis safety plan. They say it spells out everything that needs to be done on who does what, how to respond, when, and where. Now, there are 7 school resource officers for Gaston County schools. They're assigned primarily to the high school, the middle schools, and alternative schools. Each is also responsible for elementary schools within their zones. In preparing for emergencies, the school resource officers say they regularly practice lockdowns and drills at the schools. Officers say it's their daily relationships with students that can really make a difference.
We try to have an officer-friendly approach with the kids so that any child feel at ease coming to talk to us about any matter, be it something personal, something that's going on at home, or something that's school-related.
School resource officers say they encourage students to say something if they see something, teaching them how to recognize certain signs and red flags. I also spoke to Sergeant Hightower with the Gaston County Sheriff's Office, who tells me that she was just in South Florida only 3 weeks ago doing training, learning about hostage negotiations and response crisis. So all of this really does have her shaken up from a law enforcement standpoint, and the fact that she was just down there. We'll hear from her coming up at 6 o'clock, along with some others here in Gaston County. For now, guys, back to you.
All right. Yeah, a lot of people in our community certainly have connections and friends and family down in Broward County, and we've been hearing a lot from them today.
And we want to send it out now to Broward County, where Broward County Sheriff Scott Israel is giving an update. Let's listen to him now.
Exited the stairwell, pulled the rifle out of the case. At 2:21 hours and 33 seconds, the suspect readied his rifle and began shooting into rooms 1215, 1216, 1214. He went back to 1216, back to 1215, and then to 1213. The suspect then took the west stairwell to the second floor and shot one victim in room 1234 on the second floor. The suspect then took the east stairwell to the third floor. He dropped his rifle and backpack, ran down the stairs. He exited building 12 and ran towards the tennis courts, and then took a southbound turn on foot. The suspect crossed fields and ran west, along with others who were fleeing, and tried to mix in with the group that were running away, fearing for their lives. The suspect arrived at the Walmart store. He bought a drink at the Subway and then left the Walmart on foot. The suspect went to McDonald's, sat down for a short period of time. This was at 3:01 p.m. and he left on foot. At 3:41 p.m., 40 minutes after he departed from the McDonald's, the suspect was detained at 4700 Wyndham Lakes Drive in Coral Springs by an officer from the Coconut Creek Police Department. He was taken into custody without incident. Today, we've interviewed between the FBI, the Broward Sheriff's Office, and a significant amount of investigators from many other agencies, FDLE, a lot of local law enforcement. So over 2,000 people were interviewed, and we continue. This is a fluid investigation. We have so many facts coming in, some true, some unsubstantiated, some rumors. It's going to take a lot of time to sift through what's true, what's accurate, and what's not. I wanted to honor the deceased victims of this horrific killing. I'm going to do my best to pronounce the names accurately. Please forgive me if I don't pronounce the names exactly how the families do, but I thought it's very important. I want to pay homage to these families and to the victims. Carmen Shentrup, Meadow Pollock, Peter Wang, Nicholas Dworet, Christopher Hickson, my very, very, very special friend who I'll miss, Aaron Feiss, Luke Hoyer, Alana Petty, Jamie Gutenberg, Martin Duque Anguiano, Alyssa Al-Hadef, Helena Ramsey, Scott Beagle, Joaquin Oliver, Carol Loughran, Gina Montalto, and Alexander Schachter. May they rest in peace, and may God comfort their families. At this time, Special Agent in charge of ATF, Peter Forcelli, will speak about the firearm.
Good afternoon. On behalf of the men and women from ATF, I want to extend my condolences to the families of the victims and to the people of the community. And I also ask that you keep in your thoughts and prayers the first responders who responded out to this scene. 30 plus years in law enforcement, I can tell you it was a difficult one. The firearm that was utilized in this event was purchased lawfully here in the state of Florida just short of a year ago by the individual who was charged with this crime. We're here to help the Broward County Sheriff's Office to follow up on any leads that may pertain to the firearm or anything else that they need. I ask that you keep the folks who responded to this scene as well as the families of the victims in your thoughts and prayers as we get through these difficult days. Thank you.
And this live report from the scene in Parkland, Florida, both the sheriff and FBI addressing the media there, bringing us some shocking details that indicate the gunman, once he finished shooting inside the school, tried to blend in with the people who were fleeing the school and actually went to both Subway and McDonald's afterward before he was captured.
And they're saying today they've been combing, again, it's a very fluid investigation. They were saying they're trying to interview as many people as possible. They said right now over 2,000 people today that they have talked to through their different investigations. And I thought it was interesting and beautiful that the sheriff stopped and wanted to pay homage to the victims and read their names. And he had talked earlier about Coach Aaron Feiss was actually a friend of his and he coached with him. So he even has a personal connection to that, which I'm sure makes it extra difficult.
A name-by-name tribute. And we'll be back in just a moment.
A young